You have one brain, just one. But that brain, when trained right, can change everything. It can pull you out of years of doubt, pain, shame, anxiety, and push you into the life you keep dreaming about but never quite reach. But here's the secret most people miss: your brain doesn't just operate on thoughts, it operates on habits of thought. Repetitive loops, that voice that keeps saying you can't. You're not enough. It's too late. That's not truth. It's a well-rehearsed program. Now, imagine if you could interrupt that loop. Not just ignore it, but rewire it. You can. And today, I'm going to show you how to do exactly that with 4 power steps. The moment a negative thought begins to creep into your mind, your job is to catch it right there before it finishes its sentence, before it becomes a full-blown belief. That moment of interruption is the most powerful leverage point you have. Most people don't realize how many of their destructive thoughts are simply patterns, not facts. They come from years of repetition, years of experiences, and sometimes even the voice of someone else that got stuck on loop. But here's the truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And that means you can choose which ones get your energy and which ones get shut down. This process doesn't require perfection. It requires awareness and intention. So when that voice starts whispering, "You're not good enough," or "You're going to fail again," you don't need to argue with it or rationalize it. You just interrupt it. You stop it in its tracks. One of the fastest and most effective ways to do this is through physical interruption. Literally, do something with your body that jars you out of the autopilot loop. Stand up, clap your hands, snap your fingers, count backwards from 5, say something silly like "not today, brain." That sounds small, almost ridiculous, but it works. Why? Because negativity lives in the unconscious mind. It's a groove that's been carved deep into your brain from years of replaying the same fears, insecurities, doubts. If you let it run, it deepens the groove. But every time you interrupt it, even with something as simple as a finger snap or a loud stop, you take the wheel back. You become the director again, not the passive audience. You remind yourself, "I'm awake. I'm in control." The real breakthrough happens when you interrupt the pattern consistently. You won't feel a massive shift the first time you do it. Your brain might even resist you because it's not used to being challenged. But if you keep showing up, keep interrupting, keep refusing to let the thought complete its toxic loop, you start creating space between you and the thought. That space is where your power lives. That's where you can begin to plant something new, but it starts with that very first interruption. And don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until your life is less stressful or until you feel more confident. You interrupt the thought in the middle of the chaos. That's where it counts most. What's fascinating is that over time, your brain begins to anticipate the interruption. It starts realizing that certain thoughts are no longer welcome, no longer accepted as truth. So they show up less often. That's not magic. It's neuroplasticity. Your brain is always learning, always adapting to your patterns. And if the new pattern is negative thought shows up and gets shut down, your brain learns to conserve energy and stop sending that signal in the first place. You can literally train your mind to stop feeding you garbage. But it won't happen by hoping. It happens through repetition. This is not about toxic positivity. You're not pretending that bad things don't happen or that you never feel low. You're just choosing not to let every negative emotion turn into a negative identity. Feeling fear doesn't mean you're a failure. Having a doubt doesn't mean you're doomed. They're just thoughts. You don't have to believe all of them. You don't have to let them shape your reality, and that begins by interrupting them, fast, firm, and without apology. The mistake most people make is trying to reason with their negative thoughts. They think if they just explain to themselves why they're not actually unworthy, the thought will go away. But that's not how patterns work. The thought isn't logical, it's habitual. So the solution isn't logic, it's disruption. Cut it off. Stop the mental movie from playing. Change the channel no matter how many times it tries to play the same scene. Even if you have to interrupt a negative thought 50 times a day, it's still better than letting it own you once. Every time you do this, you're not just stopping negativity. You're telling your mind, I'm not that person anymore. And that message, repeated daily, creates a shift so powerful it eventually changes your beliefs, your behavior, and your entire life. So the next time your brain starts down that familiar dark path, don't walk it, interrupt it. You're not here to live on repeat. You're here to rewire, and it all starts with one choice: to interrupt. Your brain doesn't speak in logic. It speaks in repetition. Whatever thought you feed it the most, it will believe. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. If you keep repeating it, it starts to become your inner reality. That's how negative thinking becomes your normal. It's not because you're weak or broken. It's because your brain has practiced those same thoughts for years. Maybe since childhood. Maybe since that one failure. Maybe since someone said something that stuck. But here's the good news. If your brain can be trained to believe lies, it can be retrained to believe truth. You just have to teach it a new path. That new path is built on repetition. You don't wait to feel confident before repeating something positive. You repeat something positive until it becomes natural. You don't wait to believe in yourself before you speak power into your life. You speak power into your life until your brain learns how to believe it. Start with one belief, not 10. Not a full list of affirmations taped to your wall, just one sentence. One truth that directly opposes the most common lie your mind tells you. If your inner voice says, "I always mess things up," your new belief becomes, "I'm learning and growing every single day." If it says, "Nobody cares about what I do," your new belief becomes, "What I create has impact, even if I can't see it yet." It doesn't have to sound poetic, it just has to feel real. The goal is to give your brain a new phrase to reach for when the old one shows up, and you don't just say it once and wait for magic. You repeat it constantly. Say it in the mirror. Say it in your head when you're walking. Whisper it while you're driving. Write it down in a notebook every morning. Your job is not to argue with your negative thoughts. Your job is to crowd them out with better ones. The real test comes when life gets loud, when stress hits, when someone criticizes you, when a plan fails. That's when the old thoughts try to come back strong. But that's also the exact moment your repetition pays off. If you've practiced the new belief enough, your brain will start reaching for it automatically. And when that happens, that's rewiring. That's when you know the work is working. But to get there, you have to commit. Even on days when it feels pointless, even when your emotions don't match the words. Especially then, you're not lying to yourself, you're leading yourself. There's a difference. Lying to yourself is saying, "I'm fine," when you're not. Leading yourself is saying, "I'm struggling, but I'm not giving up. I'm still worthy. I still matter." And your brain hears that. It listens to repetition more than logic. Every word you speak over yourself is a brick. One brick won't change much, but brick by brick, day by day, you start building a new belief system, one that actually serves you. It's also important to know that repetition doesn't just happen in the mind. What you do also counts. When you act in alignment with your new belief, even if it's just a small action, it reinforces it. If your belief is, "I do hard things," then every time you take a deep breath and face the hard thing, you're proving that belief true. Your brain takes notes. It says, "Okay, I guess we really do show up even when it's tough." The action doesn't have to be big. It can be making the phone call you've been avoiding, showing up to the gym, writing the first sentence, speaking up in the meeting. Anything that contradicts the old pattern is a win. And every time you repeat the belief and back it up with action, you're not just rewiring your brain, you're changing your identity. You're no longer someone who's at the mercy of your mind. You're someone who leads it. And that changes everything. But you have to show up consistently. Not perfectly, just consistently. Some days you'll forget. That's okay. Come back to the repetition. Some days it'll feel fake. That's okay. Keep saying it. Some days you'll want to quit. That's okay. Take a breath and begin again. Because this isn't about being flawless. It's about being faithful. Faithful to the process of training your mind to support you instead of sabotage you. You don't have to be a prisoner of your thoughts. You have the power to rewire them. And that power lies in what you repeat again and again until it becomes your truth. ChatGPT said, "Negativity doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's almost always triggered by something in your environment, something you're looking at, listening to, spending time around, or even unconsciously absorbing. Your brain is incredibly impressionable. Whatever you feed it, it starts to believe. That's why you have to get intentional about what you allow into your mental space. If you spend hours scrolling through highlight reels on social media, comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's best moment, you're going to feel like you're behind. You'll question your worth, your timing, your value. Not because any of those things are actually missing, but because your brain is being trained to measure your life through a distorted lens. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer triggers. You need to clear the space. You can't think clearly in a mental room filled with noise. Start by identifying what drains you. Think of the apps that leave you anxious, the people who only call when they want to complain, the content that always leaves you feeling small. You don't have to make a big announcement about cutting things off. Just quietly unfollow, mute, delete, step back. Your peace is not up for debate. You are not obligated to keep toxic inputs in your life just because they've always been there. In fact, the longer you keep them, the deeper they embed their negative energy into your mindset. Every time you expose yourself to something that triggers shame, jealousy, comparison, or fear, your brain gets another signal that those feelings are normal, but they're not. They're just familiar. And familiar doesn't mean healthy. It just means repeated. The goal here isn't to live in a bubble or pretend negativity doesn't exist. The goal is to stop feeding the patterns that reinforce it. If you know something makes you feel bad, stop inviting it into your world. That includes social media, the news cycle, even your physical space. A cluttered room can lead to a cluttered mind. A toxic relationship can drown your motivation. A chaotic routine can make it impossible to think straight. You don't have to overhaul your entire life in one day. Just pick one thing that you know drains your mental energy and remove it. That single decision starts a ripple effect, because when you eliminate one trigger, you create space for something better to grow. A new thought, a new routine, a new habit that actually supports your well-being. Pay attention to your environment the same way an athlete pays attention to training conditions. They know their performance depends on what they eat, who they train with, how they rest, and what they listen to. Your mind is no different. If you're constantly in an environment of chaos, negativity, or low standards, it's going to affect how you think and act. But if you surround yourself with peace, clarity, and even small doses of inspiration, your mind starts to shift. You don't have to be around perfect people or perfect spaces. You just need to start filtering what gets access to you. Not everything deserves a seat at your mental table. Start choosing who and what gets that privilege. You also need to protect your mornings. The first hour of your day sets the tone for how your brain operates. If the first thing you do is scroll, you've already surrendered control. You've handed over your mental energy to a world that doesn't care how you feel. But if you start your day with quiet, with something that grounds you, writing, walking, stretching, even just breathing, you send your brain a completely different message. You tell it, I'm in charge today. That simple shift can change everything, because now you're not reacting to the world, you're responding with intention. Another powerful move is to start surrounding yourself with better input. This doesn't mean faking positivity. It means choosing content, conversations, and environments that remind you of your worth. Podcasts that lift your thinking, books that shift your mindset, people who speak truth into your life. Even music that energizes you instead of numbs you. You are constantly being programmed by your environment. So the question is, who's doing the programming? If you don't take control of that, someone else will. And usually they're not programming you for growth. They're just selling you distraction, fear, and self-doubt. You have the power to take control back. Start by observing what makes you feel worse, what drains your energy, even if it seems small, what triggers the spiral of negative thoughts that you keep trying to escape. Now eliminate those things, not all at once, just one at a time. You'll be shocked how quickly your brain starts to lighten, not because life suddenly became perfect, but because you removed the weight. You created space for healing, and in that space, negativity can't thrive. It's like a weed with no soil. When there's nothing to feed it, it shrivels. And when it's gone, your real thoughts, the ones rooted in strength, hope, and truth, can finally rise. Taking action is the final and most powerful step in rewiring your brain and killing negativity. You can think all the positive thoughts you want, you can interrupt the patterns and repeat new beliefs, but none of that will truly take root until you act in a way that proves the old story wrong. Your brain believes what you do more than what you say. So if your mind is constantly telling you that you're not good enough, not strong enough, not capable of change, the only way to shut that voice down for good is to show it that it's wrong. Not by waiting until you feel brave or ready, but by moving despite the fear, despite the doubt, despite the discomfort. Action is the evidence that your new belief has a foundation. It's the moment where change leaves the internal world of thoughts and enters the real world where results are built. It doesn't have to be a big action. In fact, the smaller the better because small actions are sustainable. If negativity tells you you're lazy and stuck, stand up and make your bed. If it says you're too late to change your life, take one small step in the direction you've been putting off. Send the email, go for the walk, sign up for the class. The moment you act against the narrative, you weaken its grip. Your brain is watching, and when it sees you behave in a way that doesn't match the old story, it starts to question the story itself. That's how you begin to rewire the belief system that has held you back for so long. One move at a time. You don't need a master plan. You need a moment of courage. And then another, and then another. Stack those moments, and you build a new identity. Most people wait for the motivation to show up before they take action. That's the trap. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes based on your mood, your environment, your energy. If you rely on it, you'll never build momentum. The truth is, action creates motivation, not the other way around. When you do something hard, even if it's small, you feel proud. That pride becomes fuel. That fuel becomes momentum. That momentum becomes belief, and suddenly, you're not trying to believe in yourself anymore. You already do, because you've watched yourself follow through. That's a powerful place to be. It's a place where negativity doesn't stand a chance because it's constantly being drowned out by evidence of your growth. You also have to be okay with discomfort. Rewiring your brain isn't a smooth process. Taking new actions will feel awkward. You might second-guess yourself. You might fail. But failure isn't a step backward. It's part of the process. Every single time you try, you're telling your brain, "This is who I am now. I take action. I don't hide behind fear," and your brain listens. Over time, those attempts, even the ones that don't go perfectly, start to reprogram your sense of identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is stuck and start seeing yourself as someone who moves, someone who adapts, someone who rises. That shift in identity is what kills negativity at the root, because it's no longer a battle of thoughts. It's a new way of being. There's something else that happens when you start acting in opposition to your negative beliefs. Your environment starts to shift. People notice, opportunities open. You start attracting different energy. It's not magic, it's alignment. When your actions match the life you want, the world responds. You don't have to force it or beg for it. You just have to keep showing up. And every time you do, the old version of you gets further and further away. That voice that once ruled your mind gets quieter, not because it's gone forever, but because you've proven it wrong so many times that it no longer holds weight. That's freedom. The biggest lie negativity tells you is that you're stuck, and there's nothing you can do about it. The truth is, you are one small action away from changing the entire direction of your life. One decision to try, one moment of bravery, one step that makes no logical sense but feels right in your soul. That's where the shift begins. And once you take that step, you realize something powerful. You were never stuck. You were just scared, and scared doesn't mean broken. It means human. You can feel scared and still move. That's how you grow. That's how you lead your mind instead of being led by it. Every step you take is a new message to your brain. We don't live in fear anymore. We live in forward. Keep going. Keep moving. Kill the negativity by proving it wrong with every move you make.